Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are going to be discussed about the exceptions in Java. An exception or exceptional event is a problem that arises during the execution of the program. When an exception occurs, the normal flow of the program is disturbed and the program applications terminated abnormally, which is not recommended. Therefore, these exceptions are to be handled. An exception can occur for many different reasons. A user has entered a invalid data, so that's why a exception is occur. Or a file that need to be opened cannot be found, and a network connection has been lost in the middle of communication, or the JVM means Java Virtual Machine has run out of memory. Some of these exceptions are causes by user error, other by programmer's error, and others by physical resource that have failed in some manner. Based on these, we have three categories of exceptions. You need to understand them to know them, how exceptions handled work in Java. First one, the checked exception. A checked exception is an exception that occurs at the compiler time. These are also called a compiler time exceptions. These exceptions cannot simply be ignored at time of compilation. The programmer should take care of handle these exceptions. For example, if you are use file reader class in your program to read the data from a file, if the file is specified in its constructor, it does not exist, then a file not found in exceptions means file not found exceptions occur, and the compiler promotes the programmer to handle the exception. Now we just see the example of this exception. So here I just import a library which is for java.input output, and here the input output is file. Okay, and then I just write, and here is a input output file. Okay, now I just import the library which is java dot input output, and java dot input output dot file, and here's a file reader. Okay, and this is a capital file here. Now I just write public and static void main, and then string arguments, and then here I just write file and file which is equal to new file, and then here I just write the file name which is in E, and it's double backslash which is I just name the file here. So the file name here is file dot text, and then I just write file and file reader. Okay, and then fr which is equal to new file reader. Okay, and here I just pass a parameter which is file. So now here file and file, sorry, it's a file reader. Okay, so here it will shown an error exception. So we just run this and proceed. So you can see unhandled exception type, which is file non-found exception here. So this is an error here. So now we just go to the throw exceptions to clear this problem. So what is throw exception? Throw is also a keyword. If a method does not handle a checked exception, the method must declare it using the throw keyword. The throws keyword appeared at the end of the method signature. You can throw an exception, either a newly initiated one or an exception that you just get by using the throw keyword. Try to understand the difference between throws and throw keyword. Throws used to postpone the handling of a checked exception, and throw is used to invoke an exception explicitly. So now here we just see the example of this throw exception. So I just create a class which is the name of throw exception.java. So here I just import a library which is java.input output, and then I just go to the coding area, and here I just write public void deposit, and then here I just write double amount. So our deposit is double in amount. Okay, and here I just write throw exception. So throw here is remote exception, and then I just declare the method of implementation of throw exception. So here throw, which is new remote exception. Okay, and then I just write here. So this is a method to throw an exception. Now we just see the another method to throw an exception. So here I just write insufficient funds exception example. So I just leave it this code here, which is throw remote exception, but here I just make one another example, and here I just write comma, and then I just write insufficient funds exception. Okay, and then run my code here. So it is insufficient fund exception. So this is a also example of the fund insufficient exception. So a method can declare that it throws more than one exception. Means if you want to declare a throw more than one time exception. So in this case, the exception are declared in the list separated by the comma. Like I want to show this exception and this exception in one program. So you can separate by this comma. Okay. Now we just go to the finally block. The finally block follows a try block or a catch block. A finally block of code always execute irrespectively irrespective of occurs of an exception. Using a finally block allow you to run any cleanup type statements that you want to execute, no matter what happened in the protected code. So now we just see the example of the finally block. So here's class and new, and here's just write finally, and then it's a Java. Okay, so the syntax of this finally is, first of all, you can define try. So these are the protected code, and then I just catch the exception. So here you can write the exception and its type. Then you can make the object of the exception, which is E1. Then you can catch this block and then go to the catch another exception here. So catch and exception, which is a type, and exception 2. Okay, then you can catch this block and then go to the finally keyword. Okay, so then finally, so this finally block will always execute. If this is not execute, means this block of code, this protected code is not execute, it will go to the another exception, then it will go to the another exception, but finally will always executes, remember that. So here I just clean this code, and now I just use this integer a, and then which is equal to new and int 2. Okay, now I just use try. So try here is system dot out dot print and print line and access. This is system and dot out dot print and then access element 3. Okay, and then here I just write plus a and concatenate plus a 3. Okay, let's close this code, and here after this code I just catch this exception. So catch, and here I just write array size and array index out, and it's an array index and out of and bounds, which is exception. Okay, and the exception object is e. Now I just write system dot out dot print line, and the print line here is, and this is a print line exception thrown. Okay, and here I just concatenate plus e, and now I just go to the finally block. So it's a finally keyword, and here I just write a, which is 0, and then which is equal to 6, and then system dot out dot print line, and which is first element value. Okay, and here I just write plus a and 0. System dot out dot print line, and the finally statement is executed. Okay, so I just close the double quotation here. So here is an error which is a capital F, and this is bound. So this is bound. Now just check the output. And okay, so we have unhandled exception error. So here the finally and here I forget to add my method, which is public static void main and string and arguments, and this is a string and arguments here, and then I just execute this code. Okay, and now yes, now just check. So you can see the exception thrown, which is java dot language dot array index out of bounds exception, which is the 3. Okay, and the first element of the value here is 6. You can see here the first element of the value, which is 6, and the final statement is executed. So you can see this is the final statement which is executed, and this is also the final statement, and this is the exception catch bound. Okay, so thanks for watching this lecture. See you in